Okay, we just tried that, that didn't work. We got to do that all again, you know. And there's a lot of bands, a lot of bands that do that, and that was totally their record. I think it shows people how realistic it is to be in a band, and that it doesn't just, bam, like you write this killer first record. I mean, it does happen, but usually you've been in like 15 bands before that wrote a lot of terrible songs or like okay songs before you hit that song, you know. And so for that reason, I think it's cool. And there's a lot of kids that have either talked to me or just from the grapevine I've heard that really actually like it. So it's like, as much as they may not like it, people like it.
For Fall Out Boy, the Evening Out With Your Girlfriend LP was a steep learning curve and made them realise they were still missing something. At this point, their split demo recording mates Project Rocket had disbanded. Bad news for them, but good news for Fall Out Boy, as this now freed up Pete's old friend, drummer Andy Hurley, to complete the lineup.
I had already recorded Hurley, and he did a great job. And so we were like, come on, man, let one of us do it. And they were like, no, like, we got a drummer and everything. Which is just funny because Hurley ended up getting in the band in the long run, and they got way better when he got in the band. I remember looking at Hurley and being like, dude, this is really good. And he was like, you think so? Like little Andy Hurley, you know, he's like, you think so? He's so quiet. I don't know if he's as quiet anymore, but he was so quiet. And he was just like, you really think so? And we're like, dude, Andy, seriously, this is really, really good. And it just took off from there.
With all 4 Fall Out Boy band members now confirmed, and hugely positive feedback from friends and fans, the band set about getting noticed in earnest.
It's a lot of work, obviously, you know. I mean, you have to work the streets. You have to, you know, be out there, like, you know, dropping demos off to every venue and any, you know, piece of garbage, you know, sports bar out in the suburbs that said, yeah, you can play. Okay, you have to do it, you know. It's like, if someone's got to see you play somewhere, you can kick some ass and have a great show, then hopefully then get put to the next gig and then a bigger venue. And obviously for Fall Out Boy, that happened pretty, you know, they did their shows out in the suburbs and places and just crappy venues, you know, but then a lot of hard work and persistence paid off for those guys.
I mean, they've played in a lot of bands and they've worked their asses off, and they've done a lot to really kind of forward their careers, and I think that does a lot for somebody who's trying to do that, because they develop a higher learning of how things work, how the music industry works, and what you have to do to get to this point if that's where you want to be.
They did it before the whole MySpace thing and everything else. They kind of did it, you know, not really the old-fashioned way. I mean, obviously you still had a lot of MP3s and easy ways to get your music out there and stuff, but they just hit the streets, and for a big town, it's kind of hard because there's a lot of ground to cover in Chicago, but they did it.
Sending out demos to every record label they could think of in the hope of getting signed, they attracted a lot of interest and eventually decided on small Florida-based outfit Fueled by Ramen, a move described by Pete Wentz as a long shot. He now claims it to be the best decision the band ever made.
That was the stuff that started sounding like Take This to Your Grave.
With Take This to Your Grave, you know, we got that record, and it was a record that got people talking about them in Chicago, and obviously that's what got people talking about them across the country.
Take This to Your Grave was the glue that brought them from back here, like in Chicago, and just being that band at Knights of Columbus. That was like that's like the joint that made it happen.
And that album is a good example of them having the songwriting chops and having those pop hooks and pop sensibilities before the big time producers and the record labels and all that came along, because there were tons of super catchy songs on Take This to Your Grave, but it also kind of had this a little bit of a dark sensibility, that they have like a dark sense of humor in their music and kind of this snarky sense of sarcasm, and all those elements, you know, the sarcasm, the dark comedy, you know, kind of the relationship-based themes and the pop sensibilities and the pop hooks were all there early on, and they're amplified now. So all those things are there on, you know, From Under the Cork Tree, but now you've got this big production behind you, you got music videos, and you got these bigger sounding songs that are just much richer. But if you look at a song like I Got a Dark Alley and a Bad Idea, it says you should shut your mouth, that's this huge anthemic, great summer pop song, you know, but it benefits from all this production and, you know, all the advantages they have behind them now. But they could have written that song, you know, a more stripped down version, same idea, on any one of the other records they did before.
Personally, I think I like Take This to Your Grave better than the newer one. Just it's a little bit more. I like pop music, but it's a little less. It's pop in a different way, I guess.
The Fueled by Ramen release Take This to Your Grave was a big success for a relatively unknown band, selling over 200,000 copies, spawning a couple of hit singles, and grabbing the attention of major label Island Records, who now picked them up. Buoyed by this triumph, Fall Out Boy could have been tempted to take advantage of their raised profile and rush their next album through, but had learned a painful lesson with their first release and decided to be patient.
You have to just play a lot, you know, hone the craft of playing it live, playing in the studio, and also playing the game. I mean, there's bands that just don't want to be bothered with doing things with fans or doing interviews or whatever. It's like you have to play that game too. It's like it may be tedious, you know, to get asked the same questions every single day, but guess what? It's part of your job.
After 2 years of touring and rehearsing, getting to know their fans, and perfecting the new material, Fall Out Boy finally released their next major album. Their patience and hard work was about to pay off.
It was still, when Take This to Your Grave came out, it was still sort of this, this on the fence sort of thing. I mean, Grand Theft Autumn got him a little bit of notoriety in terms of radio play and I think mainstream attention, but not enough. Not like From Under the Cork Tree.
This is the June 2005 issue that Craig Teedy wrote, an interview with Pete Wentz just before Under the Cork Tree was released, and he's excited about the album coming out, but you know, there's little sense of what's about to happen.
They started getting some airplay. They were getting college radio airplay. We were playing them. Major labels, you know, were noticing. They were getting buzz on the internet, MySpace, all that kind of stuff, you know, doing tours, and eventually all that stuff catches up with you, and it really hit them in a good way. So then it went from being a band that people who were actively seeking out music knew about to a band that was getting played on the radio, you know, like in normal rotation during daylight hours, not just on specialty shows. And that's when it just went crazy, you know, and everybody suddenly knew who they were, and the kids especially loved it. But, you know, they put out that last record, From Under the Cork Tree, and that was really what pushed them over the edge.
But then this last record, I mean, once it dropped, it was just kind of like, I don't know, it hit the country like a tidal wave.
You know, From Under the Cork Tree, that's the explosion. And then it was overnight.
But everything around them had changed, and it was a much bigger deal. And now they were hanging out with like Jay-Z, and you know, they were like hanging out with like the Rockefeller crew and everything because they were on the same label. So it was a really interesting thing that this local punk band from Chicago was now hanging out with Jay-Z and Beyonce, and you know, going to parties like that.
Their recording has got just a lot of energy, and just I think they're witty, and people recognize that they're, you know, somewhat intelligent at what they're, you know, how they present themselves and what they're doing. Heck, I'm 30 years old and I love the hell out of that last album. It's great.
In addition to touring, one of the secrets to Fall Out Boy's success has been the close relationship they have with their fans. This is especially evident through the use of the online community MySpace, where the Fall Out Boy webpage provides a direct link to millions of online fans.
I think as a resource for bands, the internet is wonderful because it allows you to get your stuff out there, period. The internet is a huge resource for anyone who wants to market anything. You know, it's open completely.
Yeah, I think that's part of it too. Marketing, using all this technology to your advantage. Like, you know, bands' MySpace pages are like the #1 tool, I think, right now for any and all marketing. I mean, so even a few years ago, they didn't have that, but now it's like everyone sees bands' MySpace pages.
Especially for teens, it's the ultimate grassroots tool. I mean, everyone wants to know what everyone else is listening to. If someone on MySpace, you know, puts them as, you know, my favorite things, has a picture of them, and one of their friends goes on there, they can see it, and then they can go to Fall Out Boy's MySpace page and listen to the songs. And that's incredible. That's an amazing technology, and it's highly underrated. And yeah, that has to be instrumental in their surge of popularity from a 200,000 selling Fueled by Ramen band to a mega selling major label band.
Making the music is what means the most to them. So I think it's like, the internet is a good resource for getting your name out there, but it's a really temporary resource, I think, as opposed to just playing music and letting it happen.